Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I'm a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. My guest for this episode 114 also used to live in the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. It is Tod Weidner, back with me again. Now he lives in Ohio, but he's back in Ohio visiting and playing some shows here soon. And we're going to talk about all of that. Plus, you're going to get to hear his song favorites and an explanation of what that is about here on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. Now, I was supposed to put this episode up back on Friday of last week, but I did not, and for that, I apologize. Enough of me apologizing. Let's get to the conversation with Tod. Hello again, Tod Weidner.
Hello, Mike Bankhead. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to you. Now, we've talked recently-ish because I was in California and you were very kindly came and spent some time with me. But we have not talked while letting other people listen to us nerd out on music for a while.
Right.
So
we know of.
That we know of. Our phones, right, could be spying on us.
Hey,
So
it's a weird note to start the conversation on, but yeah.
Sorry, you know what? Maybe all the conspiracy theorist people will join and I'll get more listens that way. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
I was telling you this before we hit record, but you remain the most listened to podcast guest I've had. Probably
that's really amazing.
It's a good indication of how much our city loves you, right? Because most of my listeners are obviously from Dayton, so
yeah,
you are not forgotten.
Most of my listeners are from Dayton as well.
See, it seems like our demographics overlap.
Yeah, I love them back. Yeah.
So how you doing? How I see you you sent one of your amps from home back out to Ohio?
Yeah, it made it safe and sound. That was traumatic and nerve-wracking, and I understand why most people have local pickup only when they sell amps, because it's nothing excited to do anytime again soon. So, but
have you put it to use yet?
I put the tubes back in and turned it on, and it works. I have not. I don't amplify very much at home, but it's kind of in preparation for eventual band size gigging, which I've done not a lot of. Mostly been solo acoustic, but
nothing wrong with that.
It's kind of a manifestation, if you will. Bring the amp out here, and the gigs will come, and the band will come.
So no more line 6 direct into the PA then.
I do that sometimes too. I'm actually using my little HX Stomp on my acoustic pedal board. I've got this really ridiculous convoluted system worked out where I drilled another hole in both of my acoustic guitars and put a second pickup in, and I'm running 2 lines and splitting the signal and then summing them back in together. It's a lot simpler than it sounds.
It sounds like rocket science to me, but you're in California and they do rocket science there.
Yeah, they fly over Ohio every now and then. It's about almost weekly. There's a sonic boom and a SpaceX mission taking off from up the coast right over Ohio.
And people may not know this about you, but you happen to be interested in devices that fly. So this is probably good for you. It fits your interests.
Since long before I was interested in music, to be honest. Yeah, it predated my music obsession. I was going to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force until I was.
Aren't you too tall for that?
Actually, I checked into it at the time, and no.
Wow.
Height was the least of my problems. My math skills and my eyesight were going to be.
Yeah. In another 20 years, the computers will fly the thing for them. They won't need the eyesight anymore. But
yeah, that's true. But yeah, so until about sophomore year in high school, I was dead set on becoming a pilot. Perhaps not coincidentally, that is the year I started playing guitar. So.
Did your pilot aspirations have anything to do with an 85 movie involving Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer?
No, my desires to be a pilot had started around kindergarten or first grade. So
okay.
We're talking like 76, 77. And so, yeah, I was definitely saw Top Gun for sure. Still haven't seen the new one, though. Not in its entirety.
I saw it on a plane. I'm not the intended audience. It was a popcorn movie,
I saw clips, and I kind of feel like I got the gist.
When's the last time you visited the world's largest military aviation museum?
It has been a minute. I was actually in Ohio last week for the eclipse, actually. And I was hoping to get a chance to go to the museum where I used to go all the time. I would walk there almost every day. Uh, it's a good place to walk in Ohio because it's under roof and it doesn't matter what the
Yes.
weather's like.
You don't get wet, you don't
Uh,
get hot, you don't
yeah,
get cold.
yeah. Some of the people there thought I worked there. I was there often enough. But it is. But to answer, yeah, to reiterate, I have not been to the museum in a while. Maybe this next visit.
A lot of fighter jets there.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, it's I can't. I have no idea how many times I've visited there. I'm an airplane nerd through and through.
That's very cool. I like them. I just don't know enough about
Well,
them. But I respect
yeah,
that they keep me alive when I'm taking one.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not
Almost
afraid,
always.
right? There is no safer way to travel, to quote
Yeah,
Superman.
it's funny. The older I get, and the more I think about things, it's getting harder and harder to reconcile the purpose that the military aircraft are used for. But I still kind of like things
Yeah.
that make a lot of noise and go fast. That's I it's yeah, it's it's complicated, isn't it? Like most
They're
things.
cool, but what they're for is not cool. You're right.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
like air motorcycles, except for, you know, they're used to maintain air superiority.
Exactly.
So for listeners that are not from Dayton, if there are any of you out there, what we are talking about is Dayton, Ohio, home of the Wright brothers, has the world's largest military aviation museum. But it's more than that. It really is an ode to the airplane and its development through the years.
Mhm.
But since it is on the property of an Air Force base, United States Air Force property, the focus is on military aviation. And if you are a history nerd, like I am, or an airplane nerd, like Todd is, this is the kind of place you would really like to visit. It is free, by which I mean that we are all paying for it via our tax dollars. So if you want to come through Ohio and visit something that's educational and kind of cool and will not cost you anything. So if you don't like it, you can spend 20 minutes in there and not feel like you've lost money. Definitely swing by Dayton to visit the Air Force Museum. I like going there.
Yeah.
I have become a Dayton travel agent, apparently. So you're coming back to play some shows, and
I am.
I plan to put this episode up. I say plan because I've been very procrastinatory with my editing schedule recently, but I plan to put this up on the 26th,
Okay.
which is about a week. It gives people in the Dayton and Columbus areas about a week to make plans to see you. Tell me,
Yeah.
well, I know already, but tell the audience about the shows that you're playing here the first week of May,
Yeah.
please.
The first week of May. I am going to be playing a show in Columbus and a show in Dayton. The Columbus show is at Natalie's Grandview, I believe is the name of the place. And the Friday night show, the May 3rd. So yeah, Thursday, May 2nd, Friday, May 3rd. I'm going to be at the good old Yellow Cab Tavern in Dayton, Ohio, my old stomping ground. And I am thrilled to be playing there again. Even more thrilled by who I am playing, by with whom I am playing.
There's
Uh,
your dad's an English teacher, right? So there's the
yeah,
grammar nerd in
yeah.
you.
You heard the gears kind of grinding there for a minute. The grammar gears. Yeah, I'm doing both of those shows with my mentor, my good friend, my hero may make it weird, but yeah, I anyway, Peter Mulvey. I'm going to be sharing the stage with Peter Mulvey, who is one of my oldest friends, oldest influences. Yeah, he's a wonderful human being and a very talented singer songwriter. And if you're looking for something to do, I would highly recommend. I'm not even if I weren't playing the show, I would want you to go to that because I have never seen anyone see Peter for the first time and not walk away a fan. And that is a real hard thing to say about a musician, but he has converted virtually everybody I've ever seen watching him for the first time to what he does because he exudes this kindness and intelligence and warmth and humor. Yeah, he's just yeah, WW PMD is a question I ask myself a lot when I'm
What would
faced
Peter
with
Mulvey do?
a life or yeah, a life or career decision. He's got it wired, and I admire him very much. The guy drove from Milwaukee to play at our wedding and would not accept payment.
That's pretty
So
cool. Well,
I'll
I mean, that's
follow Peter to the
friendship
ends of
is
the
what that
earth.
is.
Absolutely, yeah. And it
So
was kind of mutually beneficial. I'd been opening for him since the late '90s in Dayton, and
I remember. I mean, that's the first
he
time I saw him was you opening for him.
he tells me he appreciates it because I kind of helped him get a Dayton following. Dayton is one of his strongest followings, and he I don't know. I don't. It doesn't feel accurate to me, but I mean, yeah, Shrug had a good following, and I had an audience in town, and I think it helped gain an audience for him. So yeah, he always looks forward to coming back to Dayton. I certainly can't claim making Peter popular in Dayton. He does that himself very, very, very well by himself. Thank you very much. But maybe I might have gotten a few other people in the door, and we're sort of kindred spirits. So yeah, I'm just glad it worked out.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that you've introduced me to a lot of musicians, and he is just another one on the very lengthy list. He seems very real when he plays a show.
Yeah,
Like you don't feel like there's any fake coming off of him.
no, no, he's he is from the folk tradition. Just mean what you're singing. And just on a mission to just you know to just basically just I think it all boils down to the golden rule. He lives by it, and he encourages people to be better people by being around him. This is getting probably a bit effusive, but I feel very strongly about Peter, and he's doing good work, and I will sing his praises from the rooftops forever.
There's nothing wrong with effusive as long as it's the real thing. So you mentioned that you ask yourself off on WWPMD,
Yeah.
but you haven't ever done the whole road dog thing the way that he's done it for a long time.
No,
Is there a
no.
particular thing that holding you back from making you go
Well,
be another Peter Mulvey?
I think several factors. In the early days, it was my main focus was in Shrug, and for various reasons, be it jobs, marriages, houses, you know, bills to pay. We never really we did a little bit of touring, not very much. We basically stayed kind of a regional concern, um, and that's there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I would
There
have
is
preferred
not.
to hit the road a lot more often, but it just wasn't in the cards the way the band was set up and the people in the band and their lives. It just didn't allow it, and so we just kind of concentrated on cultivating a very rabid following in Dayton, and got out of town when we could. But we did North by Northeast in Toronto once. We did New York City quite a few times. A little bit of traveling here and there, but never cross country, never road dogging as you put it. Um, and that it's a that's sort of the train we found ourselves on, and it's very hard to hop off a train once you're in it. And so that was just sort of the way it worked. And then when I moved out west here, I was all set to start doing a lot of solo tours, and then the pandemic hit, and the music industry has not really bounced back, and probably
It
honestly
won't.
will not.
It's
Yeah.
it's never
So
gonna be what it was. I'm
right.
not even talking about the '90s. It's never gonna be what it
Yeah.
was in the early teens, right?
Yeah. And not to be the old man, get off my lawn type. But
I think we're both
back in the
that in some
'90s,
ways.
well, yeah, I think guilty, but I try not to sound like it. But yeah, no, bands in the '90s could go play a college town, and this was before the internet really became popular. So there was nothing else to do at night but go see whatever band was coming through town, and that is this romantic image that doesn't really exist anymore because there's so many more distractions for your time and your energy and your focus. And so just stopping through a college town is absolutely no guarantee of having anybody come out. And that means there's absolutely no guarantee of making any money, which means you're paying out of pocket for gas, lodging, what have you. So it's getting to be, it never was a sure bet, but it is getting less and less of a sure bet hitting the road now, because now we're starting to have venues taking merch cuts as much as
Yes,
40% in some places. Not
which is
all of them, but enough of them to
more
give you
than
pause.
should. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and merch has been kind of like the last frontier of ways that musicians can make money
Yeah,
on the
which
road.
is
And now
probably
that
why
they've
labels like to sign 360 deals these days so they can get their hands in that.
right, yeah, yeah, and but so it only figures that they have found a way to the powers that be have found a way to take even that small slice of the pie. So yeah, I would really love to tour. I don't know. It'll probably be limited enough. You just have to work really really smart rather than
You
hard
do.
these days.
It seems like you have the a more, I don't, nobody has ideal circumstances, but it seems that your circumstances are better than they were in the 90s if you wanted to do a tour.
Well, my overhead is certainly lower because I'm a soloer. I'm a guy with an acoustic guitar. I can take a car. I
Like
don't need to
Peter
get a
Mulvey.
band. Yeah, exactly right. And that is probably, and that certainly I think helped him, because it was very much the traveling troubadour kind of romantic guy on the road or on a bike, as he does quite a bit. He does bike tours all the time. So yeah, it was his situation was quite a bit different than a full band, and so yeah, I'm really hoping to start playing out more often. I've been kind of had my head down in songwriting mode for the last several years, and now it's
Which is
time to.
really cool. I mean, you haven't lost your talent for it, and you're kind of going another direction, but this is going to sound effusive, but I'm a fan. I think you're writing some of the best stuff you've ever written.
Thank you. I agree with you. Actually, I'm very proud of the stuff I'm coming up with. Um, I I'm a nerd about the craft of it, and I think it's just one of those things. The more you study what other people are doing, learn how people do it, figure out if that works the way you want to do it. If you can apply those little tricks and whatnot, or what to avoid. It's just as important to. It's like, well, I don't want to do it that way. That's just as valuable as knowing which way you want
So
to
true.
go.
And one of the things I like about, and I talk to a lot of songwriters in this podcast, is we all kind of go kind of to the same place. By same place, I mean we eventually finish a song, most of us.
Hmm.
Um, but we all take different paths to get there. And
Hmm.
I never get tired of hearing songwriters talk about how they approach the task. We
Me too.
actually we covered a lot of that ground the last time I had you on this
Right.
podcast,
Hmm.
and I don't want to do it today because today I want to talk about what's happening now in your show. But I do want to get really deep into songwriting nerdery with you at some point in the future. Maybe we can
Absolutely.
start off with, here are the things that don't work for me. They work for other people, but they don't work for me,
Yeah.
and here's why. Because just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it's not a valid technique, or it might
Not at
work.
all. No, everybody's got their way. And my I can't remember um actually the last time we talked, I think my primary method has pivoted a little bit since I think the last time I was on your podcast, because since I have moved to this new town, it's very strange and it's very full circle. Back in the when Shrug was just getting started and I was living in the Oregon district in Dayton, I would work, I would get off work, I would have dinner, and then I would walk across town to a place called Front Street Coffee House. Over on it was on First Street, um, not Front Street as the name would imply, but it was on First Street, and I would basically just hold court there all night. And I'd somehow manage to drink coffee until the wee hours, and then go home and go right to sleep. Oh, to have that metabolism again! But I would just sit there and write lyrics all night, all evening, and then at some point, and then I would take those lyrics and turn them into songs, truck songs. At some point around maybe the turn of the 2000s, I started changing that, and I started becoming very interested in melodies, and melodies would start coming in my head. And so I kind of my primary mode of operation switched from writing lyrics and putting a song to those to coming up with a melody and a song, and then trying to write lyrics to fit the melody and the lines there. And that's what I did for a good probably 15, nearly 20 years. until I moved here to Ojai and I found another coffee house. So every morning, most mornings, I walk across town to a coffee house, and I have a laptop now instead of a little spiral notebook. But I get a cold brew and I open up the laptop and I try to write something every day. Doesn't have to be a whole song. It could just be a few lines, and I don't beat myself up about it if I don't come up with anything. That's just doesn't have to happen every day, but more often than not, I come up with at least a verse and a chorus or something. And I have I was keeping a list. I have a list of songs from the first Shrug album from 1994 when Shrug got together until 2019 when we moved to California, Patrice and me. I had written 85 songs in the Shrug catalog, and since I
I
have moved
thought
to
there were more than that.
Yeah, I had no idea, but yeah, writing them all
Wow.
out, I was like, okay, 85 songs.
Like I have more
Because
than
we wrote,
85 songs, and I haven't been doing this as long as you.
but yeah, those were all, almost all of those were released.
Yeah.
Those all found their way on a record, and a lot of them fell by the wayside because, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
This is where
since
an
2000,
aside, that record that disappeared has some of my stuff I really like on it, and I wish that I could get some of that stuff recorded. Anyway, sorry, continue.
yeah. uh, since I moved out here in 2019, from then until now, I have written 75 songs. So in the last 5 years, I have almost lapped myself from the previous, you uh, 25 years.
So the
So
West Coast has been good
apparently,
for you.
yeah, I don't know. It's not to get too mystical, but the town I'm living in, Ojai, has a reputation for artists seek the place out. There's good energy for that here, according to
Californians,
the new agey types. Yeah,
which is a lot of people out there are new agey
there is
types.
something. Yeah, there is something that draws people out here. There's a lot of actors. There's a lot of musicians who live out here, and it certainly helped my songwriting. I don't know. I won't dispute it because the songs are just kind of pouring out. At least they were until recently when I shifted gears.
So this is what I'm curious about. You seem a lot more. You seem very happy and relaxed and kind of just content with life these days.
Well,
But you
I'm glad
don't.
it looks that
But
way.
there's. But it feels that way. But I was going to ask, in some of your songs, we don't get that. Some of your songs are still, have some sadness, some anger, some frustration,
Mm,
some angst.
sure.
Um, so either you're hiding on that real well, or you're finding a way to channel it.
I'm
Which is
channeling it
it?
differently. It's a little bit of both. I do feel very happy and at peace out here most of the time, but I am wired for. There's always going to be a little darkness, always a little melancholy. It's just the way I'm wired. I have come to terms with that, and sometimes some days are better than others. But I am finding a new way to channel that stuff. Um, I I try to spin the song so there's at least one little ray of sunshine somewhere, usually in the last verse or something like that. I think it helps me, and well, it certainly helps me, and I think it helps the listener too. But it's just it's a very there's a lot of people in that same boat, and they deserve to hear something that makes them feel like they're not as alone. So if they can relate to what I'm singing about, then I feel like I'm doing some sort of service with it, and yeah. So that stuff is never going to leave me completely. And plus, it's just a lot of times it's more interesting to write about. It's just that's the sad fact. Fact of the matter is, it's like
Yeah.
people
It
are drawn to darkness. There's something about it.
it's really a challenge for me personally to write a happy song and have it not sound cheesy or trite.
I
There are people
agree.
that can do
It is
that, and
hard
I
to.
think there's a
Yeah.
specific talent required to do that and have it
Yeah.
not come off.
Hmm. I
Ugh.
have not really been able to crack that code either. It's just yeah, it's really hard not to feel inauthentic. I don't know, which is sad that a happy song would feel inauthentic. But
Well,
I'm
I
not sure
mean,
what that says about me or us as artists. But
well, I mean, I'm anxious and depressed and taking medication for those things. So,
okay, yeah,
but I have on more than one occasion tried to write a happy song and only once have I come up with something that I didn't want to discard. And by happy, I mean, I have songs that are not meant to be taken seriously. They're somewhat humorous or light. I wouldn't consider tongue in cheek. I don't consider that like happy. I've only got one that I've kept, and it's weird. How about we let the people hear one of your new ones?
Sure.
All
This
right.
is a well, I just my most recent single probably isn't, it's called Cold Weather Kids, and it was about growing up in the winter in the Midwest. Now that we're into spring, it's probably not as applicable. So
It is
we'll
not.
go with the single. Yeah, we'll go with the single that I released before that, about I think it was August of last year.
All right.
It's called
This one's called
Favorites.
Favorites, right?
Yeah.
Thursday evening, 9:30. I was feeling better, but not quite fine. Questions rising like fiddlehead ferns. No real answers, but the world still turns. And I opened up my phone to favorites. I thought about the ways I could have saved it. The name's still there, like smoke in the air. I thought about them all the time. Days like water and nights like wine. Wasted outtakes, deleted scenes, all stitched together, thrown up on the screen. And I opened up my phone to favorites. Thought about the ways I could have saved it. I never knew what it means. I never knew how much it stings to miss you. I miss you. I never knew how it feels, and I would die beneath your wheels to kiss you. I miss you. Thursday evening, 10:30. I put the phone down and drifted off again. Questions rising, I'll never learn. No real answers, but the world still turns. I opened up my phone to favorites. Thought about the ways I could have saved it. the name's still there, like smoke in the air. The name's still there, just like smoke in the air.
All right. Well, this is your chance to tell us about whatever you would like us to know about that song and the writing process, etc. Go.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And we're off. No. I like to describe it. It's a song about regret, about having made mistakes and wanting to change, and just sort of wanting things to have turned out differently, but dealing with the reality as it is. It's kind of a fictional situation, but it's using the favorites list on your phone as a metaphor for relationships that may have gone south with people. It's like they may still be on that favorites list, but they're either you're not their favorite anymore, or they're not your favorite anymore, perhaps mutually. And just trying to do kind of a soul-ish R&B feel to it. It ended up kind of, actually, weirdly, I set out to kind of write it in a way that maybe Paul Simon would approach something. Kind of Still Crazy After All These Years. It kind of has a similar feel, a little slow shuffle, but I was just absolutely thrilled at the people that got to play on it in the studio.
Please tell us.
Yes, it was well, I am a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan from way back, just a diehard Petty fan, and so getting Steve Ferrone to play drums on it was an amazing opportunity. He's one of my favorite drummers, between Petty and the Average White Band and any number of other people he's played with. He's the king of the pocket, and to see him work in the room was really something special.
What did he play to? Was it a click, or did you have a demo? Like what did you give him?
He said, "I am the click."
Nice.
So yeah. He was great. He was so funny. And luckily, I figured he would be in, do 2 takes, boom, gone, off to whatever he would rather be doing. But he hung out a little bit afterwards, and we got to have a little conversation with him. And
did you fanboy?
This is really, no, I've been working really hard on, I don't know. I'm starting to rub some elbows with some people, and they're just people,
They are.
It's kind of a nice realization to make. It's like, if you could just kind of talk to them about just life in general, they're just people. And
I
and
think
he was a
most
very
people I
nice
could,
person.
but then I think like if Rob DeLeo walked in the room,
Oh,
I'd have a hard
oh
time not
well,
being like,
well,
oh
yeah.
my
I
God,
mean,
Rob
there are
DeLeo.
certain, yeah, right. If Keith Richards walked in the room, I'd make an idiot of myself. There are a few people like that, but no, it was really cool, and he was very disarming. He would, put you at ease, just hanging out. And had some good stories. The bass player on that gig was a gentleman named Alex Al, who has played with a list of people as long as my arm. Most importantly, Michael Jackson. He was Michael Jackson's bass player for a very long time, right up till his death.
Nice.
And yeah, and Ashley Tamar sang backup on that. The female voice you're hearing on that song is Ashley Tamar, who was in the Prince orbit for a while. Was a singer with Prince's band. He kind of took her under his wing to kind of get a solo career started for her. So there's that. There, Tim Carmen was playing organ. Tim Carmen also played organ on the album that Eric Clapton and B.B. King did together, Writing with the King, I believe it's called. It was, and Nomad, the producer, who was produced a whole handful of my first singles.
Babyface, right? He
Yeah,
produced for
yeah.
Babyface.
He was Babyface's music director. So these people know their R&B. You got the drummer from the Average White Band. You've got, yeah, it was a heavy room. Eric G, Nomad's right hand man, was playing additional keyboards, and I was singing and played the lead guitar on it, and it was a real. I say that if nothing else ever happens to me with music, I feel like I have already won because I got to spend a day in the studio with those people. We broke for dinner and just sitting there at the table listening to the stories that were going around the table. Ashley and Alex were talking, they knew each other from way back. And they were telling stories about their bosses, which, that happens a lot, but these bosses were Prince.
Michael Jackson and Prince, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
not average
even if we
bosses.
didn't even record anything, just to be able to sit at that table and listen to stories, like that is
basically music nerd
special.
heaven.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
you got to play with them, which is even.
Yeah. And to have them like the song, tell me, right. They don't have to do that. This, the other song we recorded in that same session was Nothing But Time, which is also out, a single and a video. Bernard Fowler, who sings backup for the Rolling Stones, did a lot of beautiful backing vocals on that one. And watching him work from the control room was just kind of goosebump inducing as well. He at one point he said, "Yeah, who's the lyricist?" And they all pointed at me. And he goes, "This is a really good song, man." And that was
major week, didn't it?
Made my year.
That's pretty cool.
Made my decade. Yeah. These people, they don't have to say that, and
they do not.
Really, really validating.
They could just cash the check and go about their day.
Right. Yeah, they couldn't. They didn't have to speak to me at all. But they did, and they were very kind, and that really made an impression on me. And that also reinforces they're just people. They love doing this. This is their job. Some people are plumbers. Some people are baristas. These people play on records all day, sometimes 2 or 3 in a day.
It's pretty cool that you managed to not find the jerks, because there are plenty of those. But yeah. I kind of feel you. I've told you this in person, but when I'm in Los Angeles, I don't really feel like I fit in that city unless I'm in a room full of other musicians.
Right.
And then it's like, I understand these people, like
speak the same language.
We speak the same language. We struggle with the same stuff. I mean, their rent's a lot higher, but other than that,
that's definitely true. But it's that common passion, and you really, I don't even know what to tell somebody who wants to play music and is not absolutely just gobsmackingly to the point of absolute distraction, passionate and single-minded about it, because you have to have it. You have to really be into it to make it worth listening to.
Also, it's as terrible as the business around music is. It's the only way to keep going.
Exactly. That is.
And dealing with this, how horrible the music industry is you really have to love it nowadays, to a crazy degree.
Absolutely. Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
You love it. Peter Mulvey loves it. Rich Reuter, who's playing with you at Yellow Cab in Dayton
Yeah,
on Friday, May 3rd,
that's
loves
great.
it.
I was happy to hear that. I didn't know
Yeah.
he was opening.
So
That's one. I love
let's
Rich.
recap.
Yeah,
People can find you on the internet at todweidner.com.
true.
Your socials are?
Instagram, just my name, Tod Weidner, 1D in Todd.
TODWEIDNER, Tod Weidner.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I should spell the last name.
I'll link to that in the show notes so you can click if you want.
Yeah, that is actually the only social media I'm on.
Fantastic. Keeping it simple. And next Thursday, because we're going to assume I've edited this and have it up on time. Yeah. Next Thursday, May 2nd at Natalie's, which is in Grandview. Yes, over on the east side of Columbus, northeast side, I believe, right? And then next Friday, May 3rd.
Yes. Northwest, I guess.
North something.
West of OSU, west of 315, right. North side. North of 70. Yeah.
And then next Friday, May 3rd at the Yellow Cab Tavern in Dayton. That is $15 in advance, $18 at the door. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me, Tod. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see you and Peter play.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you again.
Once again, my thanks to Tod Weidner for taking time from his busy schedule to have a brief conversation. Thank you, dear listener, for being here. And if you live in the Dayton area, come to Yellow Cab Tavern. Well, now it's this Friday, May 3rd. If you buy your tickets now, they're $15. If you buy your tickets at the door, they're $18. Tod Weidner, Peter Mulvey, Rich Reuter. It'll be a good time.